everyone! This is Hunter Tube, back with yet another 2026 item review. This may be the last one for a little while. Who knows? I may get Motorized Trip Dog. I am tempted to get Motorized Trip Dog. So, if I do end up getting Motorized Trip Dog anytime soon, yeah, expect a review on him. But this review isn't about Motorized Trip Dog. It isn't even about a motorized engine. This time, we'll be looking at some die casts. Those being Thomas, the Troublesome Truck, and the Piece of Resistance, Oliver, and Toad. So, like every 2026 item review so far, as of recently, there is of course a backstory to all three of these items. So, you kind of already know the backstory for these two, as they were purchased on the same morning as I got the motorized Gordon, as they came straight from my Walmart. Well, the story behind Oliver and Toad is even crazier, because these showed up just yesterday, August 13th, as recording this, because it is August 14th on the day I am recording this. And I didn't even know they showed up at my Walmart until literally just a few hours ago today. So I rushed over there as fast as I could, and I had to get a little help to get them out of the back, but it was so worth it. I win. So yeah, that is the little backstory behind how I got Oliver and Toad. Which means, really, the only thing that I'm after now is a second Cranky set. And obviously I don't need to do a review on a second Cranky set, because I already did a review on Cranky. But let's just get to the chase and look at these things, starting with the most obvious one of all, Thomas. So, since this is our first look at one of the proper die-cast releases, we have to take a nice look at the box here. So, starting off here, we have Thomas in his nice little plastic bubble here. There's a good look at his face. There's a good look at his back. We got the magnet indicator. Up here, we got a nice big promo of Thomas. It is the egregious promo that everyone thought was AI, but it is not. Over here, in this area, we have the new 2026 thing. And fun fact, it is actually slightly different from how it looks on the motorized box. And I will show you that quick. So here is how the new thing looks on the diecast packaging. It's yellow with a blue rim around it. But on the motorized, it is yellow with a white rim. As for why they did that, I have no idea. But moving on from that, we have Thomas's name up here in this blue. We have the Mattel logo. We have all three assortments of diecast that you could possibly get Thomas in. Here we have the Thomas and Friends logo, the new one. And available on YouTube Kids. It would be available on YouTube Kids if Mattel would finally start promoting this darn show and not just leave us on edge on whenever the heck this darn thing is going to roll. And on the back of the box, we have a list of things you can get, as Mattel is really pushing the idea of diecast being the new main range now instead of motorized, which is honestly mixed in my opinion, since, as you know, I am the motorized guy. Just look at the basement layout. Actually, just look at the entire house. It's surrounded with layouts. But Mattel making the diecast the main range, they're really pushing that whole collectible idea with it once again by putting the characters on the back of the box. And you can see all the characters that are available in the first wave, which are Thomas, Percy, Diesel with his red running board, which honestly looks better than the motorized one, Rosie, who, in my opinion, is worse than the motorized one. Mr. Troublesome Truck. Harold the Flopper Chopper. And the Abomination. So, now that we looked at the box, let's get Thomas out of this box, shall we? Coming in to get you out of your box, Thomas, and he is really struggling to get out of it. Right. Out he comes. All right. I'm gonna set this box over here. I'm just gonna plop it down to the side. Here he is. Wow. This is really nice. Okay. So first off, before we get into this, there's a reason why I got the die-cast Thomas. And that is because I honestly feel like the die-cast one looks better than his plastic counterpart. I didn't get Trip Dog because I feel like his plastic counterpart looks better than his die-cast. It's so funny how I think this. But anyway, let's take a closer look at this guy, starting with the face. And yeah, it really just throws you into the uncanny valley of how weird this promo face is. Continuing down the face, we have a nice lamp, which honestly looks better than the one on the motorized model. We have recessed buffers here. Our giant round magnet. This nice dipped running board. Got that nice smoke box. Moving on to the side, he's got nice little rivets there, nice handrails. It honestly looks so much nicer than the plastic one, because of the plastic one, it looks, the lining and everything is like super thick, and I don't really like how that turned out. Up here, here's the top. He's got a really short stumpy dome. It's not as stumpy as like, say, Adventures or Dumb Magnet Take and Play was. But he's got a short, stumpy dome that's shorter than the funnel in terms of height. Speaking of height, this gap. Why is there such a huge gap between the wheels and the body? It really makes it seem like they were going to do the idea of keeping the side rods that the 80th model had, but then ditch it at like the last second. And then they realized, oh shoot, we made this thing too high. We can't change it back now. Whatever. Here is the underneath. We got Thomas printed there. Little T ticket. His production date is V16A. So 16th week of 2026. And there's, says Thailand. And then there's his item number. Copyright Glenn Thomas, 2026 Mattel. Here's the back. It's got a nice back lamp there, which is pretty much recasted from the 80th model. Speaking of his cab isn't completely hollowed out anymore, and his roof is back to being a separate plastic piece. The coal is still a separate plastic piece. I really like the way that coal is molded. That looks really nicely molded. Here is the other side, pretty much the same. And he's also got that big number 1 there. So yeah, all in all, not a bad model. And also he's got 3D whistles, which aren't painted. And they are part of the mold. Honestly, not a bad model, I'd say. What do you say we compare him to some other ones? I think the best Thomas to start this comparison off with is the very last Thomas we got before this one, the 80th anniversary model. So starting off with the front, I will say I like the headlamp on this new one a lot more than this one. It doesn't really look much like a headlamp. This one really looks a lot more like a headlamp. Trying to think, which one feels heavier? I think the 80th one feels a little bit heavier than this one. Yeah, the 80th one definitely feels a little bit chonkier and heavier, because it is wider, and it's also got more metal in it, like the cab roof and stuff, because it's wider and stuff. And yep, the wheel radius is indeed still tighter. So this stuff doesn't really work on your Trackmaster 2 track all that well, which still makes me question why they even bothered to include adapters in these sets. But here's the nice side profile. You can see the rivets are very different from each other. Also, just like the motorized, the 80th one has the handrails outside of the line work, while this one has handrails inside of the line work. I still don't know which one I like better. This is more accurate though to the show, while this isn't. This one has rivets go across the top, the side, and the bottom. This one just has rivets on the top and the bottom, and it's a lot less too. They're a lot less and they're a lot more spaced out than they are on like the 80th model. The dome is like massive on this guy. I feel like the dome looks a bit nicer on this one here. I feel like they should have made it just a teeny bit taller to accommodate how small it looks. Because I'm pretty sure both of these domes are the exact same height. This one doesn't look too bad because it's very thick. But this one looks very short and stumpy. Especially when you compare the height to how tall that funnel is. Here's an advantage the 80th Thomas has, is that he has separate molded whistles compared to this one, which is just part of the die-cast molding. Here's the back. I really like the coal detail on this one more. It definitely looks more realistic looking compared to this, which looks very toy-like, honestly. It definitely looks very toy-like on this one. This has that feeling of really realistic coal. But if we look at these back lamps here, yeah, they're pretty much the same mold, except I think this one got upscaled a little bit compared to this one. And they both got that little hinge on the end, that little indented hinge to show that little indent that he has on the back of him, which is a nice detail. Like, you can really tell with this one having the side rods that I'm pretty sure... Actually, I don't even think... No, it's not a similar gap. This one... Like, if you look at how high the wheel is to the running board, it's pretty high up there. This one, there's a huge gap. So even if it did have side rods, they'd be way above the wheels. So they'd be, like, above the wheels and they wouldn't even be touching the wheels. So what was the purpose of this giant gap? I don't understand. I will say, I think part of me likes the dip on this running board with how curved it is, but since they retooled the All Engines Go buffer beam, it's got this thick buffer beam at the bottom. I like it on this one, with how thin the buffer beam is, but it's now back to just being a straight slant instead of the nice curved slant like it's supposed to be. Another thing the 80th model wins is the little indent between the wheel arch and the boiler. Is that this one is actually carved out, while this one is just sort of indented. Yeah. But honestly, not a bad comparison. And also, in terms of height, the new Thomas is just a little bit taller than the 80th one. He's just a little bit taller, and I'm pretty sure it's because of this giant gap right there. Because if we line them up buffer to buffer, even then, buffer beams are higher as well. Yeah, the buffer beams ride higher. Yeah, not too bad of a comparison, I'd say. That was against the 80th Thomas. Now let's bring in a bad example. Yeah, here's Trackmaster Push Along. New Thomas wins instantly. This is literally no comparison, honestly. The more I think about it though, this Thomas just feels like this Thomas squished up higher. Cause when you think about it, the domes, they're about the same size. And also, they both have water caps, which is something the 80th model didn't have. The water caps on the Trackmaster Push-Along seem a little bit bigger. And also, they both have whistles molded into the metal there. I'd say the only difference is about this. Yeah, this really just feels like an upscaled Trackmaster Push-Along, just with a thinner body, a slightly thinner body, a completely new running board tooling, new wheels, a new smoke box, obviously, and it just feels like they raised it up a bit. I think, yeah, that's the best way to put it. This really feels like they just took the Trackmaster Push-Along and raised its height a bit and gave it a few extra little details, like a plastic cab roof, a better dome, hollowed out windows, a lamp, and whatever else. But yeah, that was the Trackmaster Push-Along comparison with the new Thomas, and new Thomas wins instantly. I'm gonna be nice to you all and throw in one more comparison. Here he is next to a take-along Thomas. I sadly do not have a dumb magnet take-and-play Thomas, but it's pretty much the same as this guy except thinner. And it'd be the same as Adventures, so we don't really need to compare those. So yeah, here is the front. I don't know which one looks better. The more I look at this face now, the more it reminds me of the face from the original Sonic design for the Sonic movie. Tell me I'm not wrong there. It literally looks like the face of the original Sonic design. That's what I get from this die-cast toy. Here is the sides, and of course they couple up to each other. Like so. You can do it both ways. It doesn't line up perfectly because this magnet doesn't like the two-way magnet doesn't really like connecting to the dumb magnet that well. So yeah, back to the fronts. Here's them fronts. I don't know, does this face look better or does this face look better? The ugly Sonic face. That's what I'm gonna call that face now. Here's the sides. You can tell this one's a lot lighter of a blue. It's got like a very light blue to it. I forgot if Jay pointed this out. I need to remember what he said in his review on this. I don't really remember what he said I don't remember what they said in their review on it. Here's the back. Both of these cold loads look realistic, but I still like the load in this one a bit more. Here's the other side. Again, the spacing looks a lot better on the wheels on this one. I don't know which one would be better. They're both good in their own ways, honestly. This guy works better when you compare it to the 80th model, but another thing I will point out is the dome size. I'm pretty sure these domes are about the same size as each other, but it looks a bit better on the take-along because the funnel is about the same height as the dome. With here, the funnel towers over this teeny tiny dome here. I really feel like they made this dome too small. That's like, other than the spacing and the dome are like my two little problems with this thing. Other than that, I'd say he's not too bad. And also they both have whistle detail molding into the molded, except this one has it painted. But yeah, that was it. Next to the take-along, and it is also taller than the take-along. But yeah, that was the comparisons. So, what would I give my final thoughts on the new 2026 Mattel or Mattel Collection Thomas? I'd say he's pretty good, honestly. I definitely think you should pick this one up over the plastic engine, but obviously you will have to get the plastic engine if you want to get the track sets. But I definitely prefer this version of Thomas over the plastic one, so I'd say pick this guy up if you can. Yeah, so I feel like my final rating on this guy would be a 9 out of 10. Just because this giant gap and the tiny dome being like the only real issues with him. So that was Thomas. Who should we look at next? I say we go with the Troublesome Truck. So we're gonna start off by looking at this box, and I think we can see our main issue with this truck here. So if you look at this promo here, you can see he looks all nice and troublesome and all that. And he's got black railing detail on his little promo here. But if we look at the toy, it's all yellow. What happened to that black railing detail? I feel like that's my main problem with this truck. But yeah, that's that. It's pretty much the same as the other box, so we don't really need to go over it too much, except Troublesome Truck is trademarked. And he's got another logo, another language, magnet, Mattel, and age 3 and up. Back gives you all the characters you can collect. Time to open them up. Alright, Mr. Troublesome Truck, time to come out of your box prison, and hopefully you will be a little easier than Thomas. No, it is not. Seriously, they really started sealing these things super well, starting with the All Engines Go stuff. I'm not kidding. But yeah, there's our nice package, and it's always best to open from the bottom if you don't want to wreck that promo there at the top. So yeah, here he is. Let's give him his first little in-hand appraisal. There's that face. Also, I will point out something with this face in just a moment after we get like the full 360 view. Here is the side. Looking very long for a truck. Here's the back. He's got little dents and things, and I'm pretty sure those dents are intentional. Here's the other side. He's got all that nice planking detail, those little lines, and then the dents. Here's the inside, which is plastic instead of metal. Here's the underneath. Troublesome Truck with the T ticket. And just like Thomas, he was produced on the 16th week of 2026. So yeah, honestly, not a bad truck. He does look a little long. How does he look next to Thomas? That's how he looks behind Thomas. Honestly, not too bad. Maybe he could have been a tiny bit taller. Just a tiny bit taller, maybe. But honestly, he doesn't look too bad behind Thomas. Yeah. That was our Troublesome Truck, and now we're gonna do some comparisons. So the first truck I'm gonna bring up is actually the motorized truck that came with motorized diesel. And first off, yes, they do connect to each other, so they are compatible with each other, except one looks absolutely tiny compared to the other. But the main thing I wanted to point out was the face! The face on this yellow truck here is exactly the same face as the one on this gray Troublesome Truck. So it makes me wonder, are these two trucks the exact same character here? Are these two trucks the exact same character? Is there some sort of storyline where this truck started off as like some sort of gray truck and was just kind of sad that he didn't look all nice and colorful like all the other trucks? Because there's obviously a red truck, there's going to be a bluish green truck if Rickety ends up actually showing up based on the trademarks recently. We got two yellow trucks, which might be the same character as this gray one. And we got the red truck like I mentioned. Do we have any other colors? I don't think so. Actually, we've got Scruffy with his bluish gray. So we've got a bit of color. And it brings me to the theory more that this gray truck here might be the one in that exclusive Target pack, which features Thomas and the truck in their first appearance decos, whatever that means. So first appearance for the truck might be this gray look, and then at some point during whatever episode this is, he gets into some sort of wreck or something and goes, ow, oof, ow, ow, and then he gets all damaged up or something that he needs to be repaired. So they take him in to the truck repair shop and they make him yellow for some reason. But he's still got all the dents and stuff from his crazy accident. So it's like Mater and how he calls his dents valuable. So this truck now calls all the dents he got in that accident valuable, as it made him look all nice and colorful. But who knows? This may or may not be true. It's just a train theory! But with that out of the way, let's compare him to the previous Troublesome Truck, which is the Trackmaster Push-Along Troublesome Truck. And interestingly, this basically just looks like a downscaled version of this, because the planking at the front looks exactly the same as the Trackmaster Push-Along one. Because there's a bit of a gap at the top here for the face has a bit of overhang. But this one, the face just goes right up to the top. On the side here, the detailing is definitely different though. Yeah. The planks are a lot, like these things are a lot less prominent. This one also has a much thicker running board. This one has the black running board with more exposed wheels compared to this. And it also has thinner wheelbase, so it doesn't really work with Trackmaster Track. The insides. Also, which one's weightier? I'm not too sure. They feel similar weighted to each other. But the inside, the new truck wins, because he's got all that plank detailing, except this one is plastic. This one is metal. Here is the back. I think this one wins in terms of detailing because it's got like the little frames. It's got the truck frames on it. This one has nothing, so it kind of looks like the original CGI truck. Here's the other side. Interestingly, actually, they're both the same length as each other. Yeah, both of these trucks are the same length as each other. I think I know why this guy looks so long. It's because he's so short. His top part is like so short in height. This guy doesn't look as long because he's obviously like taller. He's like taller in height and all that. So this guy doesn't look as long. This guy looks very long because he's like very short in height. It's perspective. Perspective really makes you see things differently depending on what they look like. And of course, this coal load, since it is very wide, it will not fit into this Troublesome Truck. But I'm gonna grab another coal load quickly. This is the coal load that came with the Adventures Troublesome Truck. And it fits in there nicely. It does wobble around quite a bit, so it's not like a perfect fit, but it does fit. It does make me wonder why they didn't throw like a piece of cargo with this truck, because that would have looked very nice. And it would have continued the trend of like the truck carrying like the coal loads and whatnot. Who knows, maybe that upcoming Troublesome Truck variant for 2027 might come with a coal load or something. Maybe that's why they made a Troublesome Truck variant for the 2027 engines. But what are my final thoughts on the little 2026 diecast Troublesome Truck? I'd also give him a 9 out of 10. Probably my only nitpick is just how short he is in terms of height, because this guy feels like a midget. That's like my only thing. He feels like a midget in terms of height. I feel like he should have just been a tiny bit taller, and that would have fixed the issue. Like, this guy Looks pretty well scaled when you put him behind this Thomas here. In terms of width, heck no. But in terms of height, yes. This guy just feels like way too short. I feel like his height should be up to the top of his bunker. But yeah, honestly, not too bad for a Troublesome Truck. Now let's get on to the best characters! Oliver and Toad. So, this is the one diecast that I planned on getting no matter what happened. I was always going to be set on getting this one, even if I don't plan on getting as much of the diecasts, since they don't really work with Trackmaster Track anymore, since they have narrower wheelbases. I always had my eyes set on getting Oliver and Toad, because yes, why wouldn't you get Oliver and Toad? They're like one of the best ones in this first wave, mind you. So starting off with the box, since this is a larger pack, I will take a better look at it. We have the Thomas and Friends logo, and Oliver's funnel overlaps it a little bit. We have available on YouTube Kids, Oliver and Toad, Mattel, assortment numbers, new 2026, the nice tracks, the background with the promos of Oliver and Toad, who now has a square face instead of rectangular, which is an interesting design choice. Also, they both have the same colored eyes, which is also interesting to note. Here they are in their nice packaging blister. Got the magnet, ages 3 and up plus Mattel. And on the back, we have a look at the other characters you can get in this first wave of large engines. And we've got Henry, Mr. Hot Dog, who isn't as much of a hot dog in this diecast range, Mr. Fatface, Gordon, Annie and Thomas, and Le Piece of Resistance, Toad and Oliver. Alright, time to get these two out of their box. Here we go, folks. One of the greatest diecasts of 2026. Out they come. Nice and gentle. Whoop. Wow, look at that. I'm just going, I went insane off camera just looking at these things. This is just so mind-blowing to just see an Oliver and a Toad toy in 2026? Like, what? Before I flip out too much, we're gonna start off by looking at Oliver here. We're gonna look at his face. The way those eyes look and that smile make him look like a frog, honestly. I don't know what it is. It just screams like some sort of frog. When Toad is supposed to be the frog. He's got that nice little headlamp like Thomas does. And the Troublesome Truck just fell on the floor there. Got that nice magnet. It's got unpainted buffer beam, but that should be a simple fix if I want to do so. Here's the side. He doesn't have a different sized wheel at the back, but I will say it is nice that they spaced that third wheel out from the other two, which I honestly really like. I also want to say I love the proportions on this thing. Like, look at the wheel arch. Look at the spacing. Oh my gosh, this is like easily one of the best diecasts of this whole range. He's got his handrail up here that goes all the way around. It is unpainted, sadly, but nothing a few textures can fix. He's also got a teeny tiny dome and a giant funnel, just like Thomas here. What is it with them making teeny tiny domes on these things and giant funnels? I will not understand that. He's got his safety valve, which is a separate plastic piece. He's got some rivets. He's got the GWR logo, number 11, which I'm pretty sure. Is that the same font? Yeah, that's the exact same font as Thomas's number 1. That is literally the exact same font as Thomas's number 1. Yeah, he's also got that nice open cab. He's got a new detail, which is this yellow lining here, which goes around his cab door. He's got the handrails. He's got more handrails, plastic coal roof and cab roof. Here's the back with a nice curve. Here's the coal, which kind of reminds me more of the, not really the coal in the 80th Thomas, but more so the coal that you would see in like the All Engines Go diecast coal bunkers. Like that, except it's more of a matte finish instead of like a glossy finish. Here's the other side. Pretty much the same. GWR 11. Nice rivets and handrails. And back to the face. He's also got nice water caps. And then underneath says Oliver with the T ticket. Production date is 13th week of 2026. And the interesting part is that the item number underneath Oliver says JLB61. Because if we look at Toad here, his is JLB68. Which means that they were originally going to sell Oliver as a single diecast engine. But they either A, canceled that at last second, or B, decided to hold it off for the 2027 releases, and he may be one of the 3 unknown 2027 releases that don't have their barcodes in the Walmart system yet. But yeah, that was Oliver, and I will say he is absolutely amazing. Definitely pick this one up. Let's move on to Toad. Here is Mr. Toad. And honestly, he looks really, really good. Here's his front with his new square face. It is very interesting. I will say the face still does kind of have that Toad look to it. Kind of has a similar style to what his face originally was, except it's not a wide rectangle anymore. Kind of wish they put like detailing around these blank bits of the front here. He's actually got a nice open cab there. He even has flooring details. Flooring details on the inside. I'm not sure if that's plastic or metal. Is that metal? I honestly cannot tell if that's plastic or metal though. You can also see the backside of his face there. He doesn't have any brake controls inside of him. That would have been cool to put in there if they did. He's got a little white splotch of paint on both sides to reflect where his lamp would have been. Here's the side. Got that nice planking detail. 16 tons. 50421 GWR logo. They even went in and added some paint to these handrails. I think they added paint to these. Yeah, they did. It's just a little off-centered on mine, sadly. It's a bit better on this side. Okay, it's a little bit better on this side. The silver's done a bit better on this side, thankfully. So you can see that nice silver detail there. Here's the back with the nice planking. There's a bit of molding blemishes. Here's the top. He's got a little thing there. I don't really know what that is. It's not a funnel. He's got his nice wheels underneath. Toad V14. So Toad was produced a week after this Oliver, and also the font stamp is a lot thicker than Oliver's too. Really makes me wonder if they're still planning that Oliver release. Let me look at the production date on the box. Alright, so I re-grabbed Oliver's box, and the production date is V14A on the box. So this Toad was produced within the week the box was packaged. And Oliver was made a week prior. And also, yeah, the magnets are part of the top body shell and not the chassis, which is nice. And Toad connects the correct direction! Yay! Sadly, I do not have the 2014 Take and Play Toad, which is like one of the worst Take and Play Toads ever because they put his magnets on backwards, so he runs backwards like this instead of how he should. Whoopsies, that didn't sound good. So backwards like he should be like this, so thankfully he runs backwards. Let's just throw the Troublesome Truck in here, in the middle here, and see how this scales. Honestly, I'd say the Troublesome Truck scales a lot better with Oliver and Toad than it does with Thomas. And yeah, that fall was not good. Toad now has a dent in him. No! Whatever. Yeah, Oliver and Toad scale a lot better with this truck than they do with Thomas. Speaking of scaling, this really shows you how tall Thomas is. Oh my gosh. Thomas is massive! CJ, why did they give him this huge gap? Because of this, he towers over every other tank engine now. Why? Why did they make him so tall? That's my question. No, wait. It's Brenner era accurate. Oliver's tiny. Yo! So the scaling bug may have got to me. I grabbed Plastic Trip Dog. We're gonna scale him next to these two. Here he is next to Thomas. I'd say that looks okay, because Thomas is definitely taller than Percy in the show, because, you know, it's Percy the small engine. Yeah, Percy definitely looks all right next to Thomas. Let's see how he looks with the Troublesome Truck. Honestly, not too bad. He looks pretty good at that Troublesome Truck as well. Thomas just looks way too tall with that truck. The truck looks way too small with Thomas. The truck scales really well with Percy there. Let's see how Percy looks next to Oliver. Oh my gosh, Oliver is smaller than Percy. Oh my gosh. You can see it. Let me flip this down. Look at that. Oliver is shorter in height than Percy. So I don't know what they're thinking with this scaling here. But the scaling is definitely something. Thomas is the tallest of the three. How's Toad look? Is he's the same height as Oliver. And here's the short truck. Oliver in the middle there. There's our lineup. So yeah, now that I did some scaling tests, I feel like Thomas might just be a little bit too tall, honestly. That's my issue. Like, I think the scaling is just a little bit off in some areas. Like, the truck looks too small behind Thomas, but he looks pretty good behind everyone else. He looks good behind Percy. He looks good behind Oliver. He looks good paired up with Toad as well. So yeah, it's just Thomas who feels too tall. And it's probably all because of this giant gap that he has. But with those side tangents about height and scaling out of the way, what are my final thoughts on the Oliver and Toad 2-pack? I'm going to give it a perfect 10 out of 10. This is one of the greatest Oliver and Toad diecasts that we've had in quite a long time. I sadly do not have any other Oliver and Toad diecasts, so I wasn't able to compare them to other ones. But honestly, this honestly isn't too bad. And now, what do you say? We give these 4 plus a certain trip dog, a run around the track.
On!
Whoa! I've got this, Mr. Oliver.
Thanks for saving us back there, Toad.
Well, that is my job.
And that was the quick little running session of the Diecast 2026 Thomas, Troublesome Truck, and Oliver and Toad 2-pack. So that marks the end of this batch of 2026 merch reviews. The next review will possibly be Motorized Trip Dog whenever I get around to getting him. And hopefully I will have something that isn't a 2026 merch review coming out soon, like that MMD animation that I promised. But with college restarting back up right around the corner, who knows how long it's gonna take for me to get that animation done now. But anyway, this is HunterTube saying thanks for watching, bye for now, and I will see you in the next video.
Hey, Thomas?
Yeah, Oliver? I have a question. And what is that?
Where's Toad?